Have you ever wondered why you do things that you never remember choosing? Why do you think thoughts that don't even feel like your own? Why certain fears grip you, certain dreams fade, and no matter how hard you try, you feel like something is pulling invisible strings behind the curtain of your consciousness. Now pause, breathe, because this isn't just about psychology, trauma, or programming. This is about possession of the mind, not by spirits, but by subtle systems, by symbols, by spells hidden in plain sight. And it's been happening since before you could speak. They don't need your permission. They don't need your awareness. All they need is access to your subconscious, and they already have it. But who are they? They are not just people in power, not just politicians, advertisers, or media giants. They are the architects of perception. They are the keepers of illusion. They are the priests of forgetfulness, who use fear, distraction, and repetition as their sacred rites. In ancient times, these forces were called by many names: archons, Mara, the great serpent, the veil. They were not seen as mere ideas, but as spiritual parasites, feeding not on your body, but on your awareness. They don't break into your mind with force. They invite you to forget who you are until you willingly hand over the keys. And once your subconscious becomes the altar they control, you become the worshipper without ever knowing who you're praying to. But here is the deeper mystery. Your subconscious mind is not your enemy. It is your inner temple. It is sacred earth where seeds of divinity can grow, or where weeds of deception take root. The difference? Who you allow to plant. This journey is not just about exposing how your mind is controlled. It is about reclaiming your throne, because you are the guardian of your subconscious. And if you don't occupy the seat of your own soul, someone else will. So what we are about to explore is not a theory. It is a hidden war, waged in silence, in symbols, in the stories you've been told since childhood. And yes, this war has rules, rituals, strategies, and most importantly, it has a path to freedom. In this sacred exploration, we will journey through time and myth, peeling back the veil on how ancient civilizations understood the subconscious as a sacred gateway, not just a mental space. How hidden systems of power, then and now, exploit your inner world through repetition, media, and belief loops. The forgotten spiritual technologies that allow you to reclaim control of your subconscious reality. And how to transform your inner programming, not with force, but with light. So I ask you now, not just with words, but with presence. Are you willing to see what's really shaping your mind behind the scenes? Are you ready to reclaim the sacred sovereignty of your thoughts, emotions, and inner temple? Because the truth is not hidden, it is buried beneath layers of noise. And tonight, we dig. Welcome to the Great Remembering. Long before neuroscience claimed to understand the mind, long before the term subconscious was inked onto psychology's scroll, there existed sacred traditions that knew the truth. Your mind is a mirror of the cosmos. What you believe becomes the universe you walk through. What you forget becomes the shadow that follows you. In the temples of Kemet, what we now call Egypt, the priests of Thoth taught that the Ka and the Ba, the subtle aspects of the soul, existed in constant dialogue with the Duat, the unseen realms. The subconscious, though unnamed in modern terms, was regarded as the hidden river beneath waking thought. It carried the echoes of past lives, divine memory, and ancestral programming. In those temples, they didn't treat the mind with pills or diagnoses. They treated it with symbols, sacred geometry, mantras, and myth. Because they understood what today's world has forgotten. The subconscious does not speak in logic. It speaks in images, in emotion, in ritual, and so they guarded the symbols carefully. But as empires rose and fell, as wisdom was burned in libraries and buried beneath war, the keepers of the new world learned something dangerous. Whoever controls the symbols controls the subconscious, Take Babylon, another ancient realm, not just of city and stone, but of language and spellwork. The root of the word Babylon is Babel, confusion. The Tower of Babel was not just a myth of scattered tongues, but a parable of fragmented consciousness. And when consciousness fragments, when language is manipulated, you no longer name the world. You become named by it. Words were never just tools, they were spells. In Hebrew mysticism, the word was the bridge between divine and form. In the Vedas, mantra, sacred sound, was the first cause of creation. So when you hear the same words over and over again, on the news, in entertainment, in childhood scolding, your subconscious is not just listening, it is reshaping your entire reality around them. This is not fiction, this is frequency. Now let's walk even further back, to the Vedic sages of ancient India. They spoke of Maya, not illusion in the way we now mean fake, but illusion in the sense that what you see is not all there is. The sages taught that the mind, especially the subconscious mind, was like a still lake. When calm, it reflects truth. When disturbed, it reflects only distortion. Maya was the disturbance, and controlling Maya meant controlling perception. Controlling perception meant controlling reality. So those who mastered Maya, be they saints or sorcerers, could influence the minds of men without ever raising a sword. But what does this mean for you here now? It means that the battle for your subconscious is not new. It is ancient. It has worn many faces: media, religion, empire, even well-meaning family systems. But the method has always remained: repetition, emotion, symbol, story. When these are used with wisdom, they awaken. When used with deception, they imprison. This is why nearly every ancient initiatory path, from the Eleusinian mysteries of Greece to the mystery schools of Egypt, began with unlearning. The aspirant would go through rituals of silence, darkness, sensory deprivation, not to punish, but to purge the mind of external programming. Only then, once the old gods of false belief had been cast out, could the inner temple be rebuilt. Even Jesus, in the Gnostic texts long kept hidden, said, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." He was not speaking of personality. He was speaking of the subconscious wellspring, the divine code within you that has been overlaid by layers upon layers of who you were told to be. And so we arrive at this moment in history, where the illusion is louder than ever, where entertainment has become indoctrination, where attention is currency, and the greatest goldmine is not your wallet, it is your focus. The modern world is not absent of magic. It is overflowing with it, misused. Advertisers chant their jingles like mantras. News cycles repeat fear like rituals. Your social feed becomes a scrying mirror, designed not to show you truth, but to shape what your subconscious believes is normal. You begin to think what they want you to think, buy what they want you to buy, feel what they want you to feel. And perhaps worst of all, you forget what it feels like to choose. But now the ancient paths are reawakening. Now those who once fell asleep to the lullaby of the illusion are stirring, because something deep within you knows you are not the story they told. You are not the fear they sold. You are the sacred architect of your own temple. But to build it, you must first clear the rubble. And the first brick is this awareness. They cannot control what you remember. They can only control what you forget. And so we remember. The subconscious mind is not a blank slate. It is not an empty room waiting to be filled. It is a living garden, alive, fertile, responsive. And every word, every symbol, every emotion you've ever encountered has planted something there. The question is, whose seeds are growing? You see, the subconscious mind is not logical. It does not analyze or argue. It does not debate truth or fiction. It is accepted. It absorbs. It believes without judgment. That is its power, and that is its vulnerability. Imagine this. Your subconscious is a kingdom. You are the rightful ruler. But from the moment you were born, you were taught to leave the gates open, through lullabies sung in fear, through teachers who mistook obedience for virtue, through screens that showed you images not to awaken you, but to hypnotize. The gatekeepers changed faces, parent, pastor, president, platform, but the method remained the same. Repetition, emotion, authority, isolation. Let's unravel each. What you hear enough times becomes truth. This is not modern psychology, it is ancient magic. In the mystery schools of Egypt, initiates were taught sacred chants, not because of their meaning, but because of their vibrational imprint on the subconscious. A chant repeated in the right rhythm, with intention, could shift a person's perception, open the inner gates to divine realms. Now consider the modern world. How many times have you heard phrases like, "You're not enough, money is hard to make, people like you don't succeed, stay safe, stay small, stay quiet"? Not just once, not just from one voice, but from all directions, like a sacred rite in reverse. This is no accident. This is a spell of limitation, repeated until your subconscious carves it into the foundation of your reality. Repetition alone does not seal the program. Emotion is the ink that makes it permanent. Think of a moment in your life when you were shamed, rejected, or humiliated. Do you remember the words spoken? Perhaps. But more than that, you remember how it felt, that feeling, the sharpness in your gut, the heat in your face, the freezing of your breath. That is what your subconscious recorded, not the facts, the frequency. So when advertisers, authorities, or manipulators want to program your subconscious, they speak to your emotion, not your logic. They show you terrifying images. They attach shame to disobedience. They bind love with approval. They make fear feel like wisdom. And over time, your subconscious begins to believe safety is silence, acceptance is earned. Truth is whatever makes me feel secure. But this is not true. This is emotional bribery, and your soul was not made to be bought. As children, we naturally trust those who appear to know more. We absorb what parents, teachers, and elders say, not because we agree, but because we feel we must. This instinct is natural. It is part of tribal survival, but it is also deeply exploitable. Religious leaders, political figures, celebrities, scientists, algorithms. The moment they are placed on a pedestal, your subconscious lowers its guard. This is why even the most absurd messages, when delivered by someone in a suit or behind a podium or with a shiny title, bypass your conscious defense. And before you realize it, your inner voice is no longer your own. You repeat what they said, because you were never taught to question authority in sacred spaces. But the mystics of old had a different approach. They taught that the highest authority is within. They did not give answers. They asked questions that lead you back to yourself. So the next time someone tells you what to think, how to feel, what is right or wrong, don't ask, "Do I agree?" Ask, "Did I ever choose this belief, or did I inherit it through reverence?" The final mechanism is subtle but deadly. When you are disconnected from your intuition, your community, your spirit, you become easier to control. A fragmented mind is a programmable mind. This is why ancient initiates were surrounded by guides, elders, and community, not to indoctrinate, but to mirror and refine the inner voice. In contrast, modern systems isolate the seeker. They make inner work taboo. They make questioning shameful. They drown intuition in noise. And so the subconscious, once meant to be a sacred sanctuary, becomes a chamber of echoes, filled not with your voice, but with the voices of others. Now take a moment. Let this sink in, not as information, but as revelation. Can you feel it? The whispers in your mind that never belonged to you. The decisions you made, not from sovereignty, but from unseen influence. This is not a cause for guilt, this is a call to awaken, because what was planted without your consent can be uprooted by your awareness. And what was lost beneath layers of programming can be resurrected by your remembering. You are not broken, you are not lost. You are simply waking up in a world designed to keep you asleep. And now that you see the mechanism, you are no longer its servant. You are the dreamer, becoming lucid. The subconscious is not merely a victim of control, it is also a gatekeeper of your reality. And like all gatekeepers, it obeys the one who knows the keys. But here is the paradox. Even when you become aware of the manipulation, even when you see the strings being pulled, you may still feel stuck, still drawn to the same habits, still unable to shift the deeper currents of your life. Why? Because the subconscious does not only store what was imposed on you, it stores what you've agreed to. That's the terrifying truth. You were convinced to say yes, to believe you were unworthy, to chase what you never needed, to reject your truth for their approval, not in one moment, but in thousands of tiny agreements, so subtle you forgot they were decisions, so small they seemed harmless. But stacked together, they built a prison, a beautiful prison, one you decorated with comfort, one you called safety, one you even defended when truth knocked on your door. Because here's the deeper mechanism of control. They don't just tell you who you are. They make you tell yourself. They hijack your inner dialogue. They get you to repeat their programming in your own voice. And once you believe it's you, you stop resisting. This is the most insidious trap, to make the prisoner think they built the cage, to make the soul believe that slavery is stability. And this is why awakening is not easy, because it requires you to admit, I didn't choose this, but I did accept it. And what you accept, the subconscious enshrines. The subconscious mind is not malicious. It is loyal, ferociously loyal. It believes its job is to keep you alive according to the beliefs you've accepted as true. So if you believe success leads to abandonment, your subconscious will make sure you fail to protect you from pain. If you believe love always ends in betrayal, your subconscious will sabotage intimacy because it thinks it's helping you. This is not dysfunction. This is sacred protection based on distorted data, and this is where many get stuck on the path. They try to force transformation without reprogramming the subconscious loyalty. They try to manifest abundance while still believing wealth is dangerous. They try to heal their heart while still identifying with being broken. But the subconscious does not obey desire. It obeys belief. And unless you shift the belief, desire becomes fuel for sabotage. There is a moment on the path of awakening when the seeker begins to gain clarity. The fog begins to lift. The manipulations become visible, and yet the struggle increases. Why? Because now the ego wears spiritual robes. Fear learns the language of the soul. The false self becomes your inner guru. It tells you, stay safe, wait until you're more healed, until you're more pure, until you're perfect. It tells you you're not ready. That truth can wait, that power is for later, and once again you listen, not to a government, not to a school, not to a system, but to the voice in your head masquerading as your higher self. This is the final frontier of control, when the external voices are gone, but the internalized oppression remains. This is the false light, the smiling jailer, the soothing poison, and it must be confronted. To reclaim your subconscious is not just to become aware of programming, it is to break the sacred contracts you never consciously signed. It is to say, no more will I agree with the voice of limitation. No more will I echo their fear as my own. No more will I abandon my truth to maintain their illusion. This is rebellion, but not one waged with anger. It is a rebellion of remembrance. It is the moment when you stop outsourcing your sovereignty, when you return to the throne of your own temple. But remember, the subconscious is not reprogrammed through willpower. It is reprogrammed through ritual, through daily presence, through sacred repetition, through rewriting the inner script with your voice, your truth, your essence, because once your subconscious becomes aligned with your soul, the illusion collapses, the cage vanishes, and you walk through life not as a puppet, but as a presence. The subconscious does not respond to logic. It responds to rhythm, to energy, to ritual. And so to free it, to reawaken it, you do not argue with it, you initiate it. This is not a one-time event, it is a daily return, a sacred discipline, a spiritual devotion to reprogram the temple you live inside. So here, we enter the sacred space of application. Tools not just for your mind, but for your soul to reclaim the throne. Your subconscious listens most powerfully when you speak aloud with presence. Begin each morning and end each night with the mirror ritual. Stand before a mirror. Look yourself in the eyes, not the face, not the hair, but the soul behind the eyes. Speak directly to yourself. I now speak truth into my subconscious. I am sovereign. I am divine. I am the only authority in this temple. No voice but mine shall echo in this sacred mind. I release what is not mine. I return to who I truly am. Repeat these or create your own, but say them aloud with feeling. The subconscious does not respond to robotic phrases. It responds to emotion, to tone, to certainty. Do this for 21 days without break. Let the repetition plant a new frequency into the garden. Take a notebook. Call it your journal of shadows. In it you will write out everything your subconscious still believes that you did not choose. Ask yourself, what beliefs run through me that were given, not chosen? Whose voice lives in my head, pretending to be mine? What do I fear that might not even belong to me? Where am I sabotaging myself, and what belief justifies it? Let it pour out. Do not edit, do not judge. This is an excavation, not a performance. After writing, read each belief out loud and respond with your higher truth. For example, I believe I am not worthy of love. That belief was never mine. I return it to the sender. I love myself. This simple act of naming and reclaiming begins the inner alchemy. As we explored earlier, the subconscious responds most deeply to symbols. So create your own. Design a symbol that represents your liberation, your truth, your inner command. It doesn't need to be perfect. It must only be personal. Draw it on paper. Keep it near your bed. Place it on your altar. Meditate on it for a few minutes each day. This becomes a living talisman, a subconscious trigger of your chosen identity. You are not just telling your subconscious something new. You are showing it a new reality. This may be the most difficult and the most vital. Your subconscious is shaped daily by the media you consume. News, scrolling, background music, conversations, all of it is programming. So for 7 sacred days, go on a subconscious detox. No social media, no mainstream news, no television or ads, no low-frequency content, gossip, or fear-based narratives. Instead, fill your environment with instrumental music tuned to 432 Hz or 528 Hz. Sacred texts, mantras, or affirmations. Conversations rooted in truth, growth, and spirit. This is not avoidance. This is recalibration. After the 7 days, reintroduce content only if it aligns with your chosen frequency. Ask, does this nourish the temple of my mind? If not, it does not belong. Each night before bed, perform the counsel of the inner temple meditation. Close your eyes. Visualize a great hall, vast, silent, candlelit. In the center is a throne. It is yours. Around you, seated in the shadows, are the voices that once ruled you. A parent, a teacher, a critic, a lover. A voice that said you were too much or not enough. Walk to the throne. Look them all in the eyes. Say, you are no longer my counsel. I honor your part in the story, but your rule has ended. I now sit upon the throne. I lead. I speak. I decide. Then sit in silence and feel what it's like to take up that space. Do this every night for 14 days. Each time, the voices will weaken. Each time, your own will rise. Affirmations are powerful, but only if they are believed. To bypass resistance, write them in a specific format. I am. I choose. I remember. Example: I am the guardian of my subconscious. I choose to believe only what aligns with my truth. I remember the power that was never lost, only hidden. Repeat these while moving your body. Walk, stretch, dance. This anchors the affirmation into both mind and muscle memory. The more senses involved, the deeper the programming. We were never meant to walk this path alone. Find or create a circle, even if it's just two others, where you speak your truth, share your rituals, and witness one another's unfolding. The subconscious heals faster in the community. The illusion collapses more swiftly when others confirm, "You're not crazy, you're awakening." The ancient temples had councils for a reason. Rebuild your own. You cannot force your subconscious to change through domination. It does not yield to shame. It does not blossom through self-attack. It blossoms through devotion. Speak to it as if you are comforting a child, as if you are calling back a long-lost lover, as if you are invoking a sleeping God within you. Because that's what it is. Your subconscious is the womb of your universe. What you plant, it will grow. What you believe, it will become. What you ignore, it will magnify. So tend to it, not with fear, but with reverence. We've uncovered the illusion. We've journeyed through the veil. We've reclaimed the forgotten throne. Now we seal the circle with truth that cannot be unlearned. You were never broken. You were only asleep in a dream they gave you, a dream woven from television static, schoolroom ceilings, and 1,000 subtle no's whispered into your soul. But now you are waking. And when a soul begins to wake, the illusion trembles. Because here's what they never wanted you to realize. Your subconscious is not their territory. It is not the property of your past. It is not the product of your pain. It is your temple, it is your canvas, it is your kingdom. And every thought, every word, every sacred ritual you now practice is a key, a seed, a spell of remembrance. No more will the voices of fear write your story. No more will the symbols of false power bind your worth. No more will the systems of manipulation design your desires. Because now, you are conscious of the subconscious. You are lucid in the dream. You are sovereign in the realm they thought was theirs. And you are not alone. There are others awakening, others remembering, others like you reclaim their birthright as architects of reality. They cannot stop the awakening. They cannot silence the truth. Because once one soul remembers, the spell begins to shatter. So as you rise, remember, you are not here to escape the world. You are here to recode it from the inside out. You are not here to destroy the system. You are here to become immune to it and teach others how. You are not here to wait for permission. You are here to speak with original authority, the kind that flows from the spirit, not society. Your subconscious is no longer their playground. It is your sanctuary. Speak to it with reverence, command it with love, shape it with intention, and it will reshape everything around you, because this is the final truth. As within, so without. As you believe, so it is. As you awaken, the dream shifts. You are the dreamer. You are the scribe. You are the sacred key they tried to bury. But no spell can hold you when you remember who you are. And now you do. So go. Speak the new words. Plant the new seeds. Write the new story into your subconscious, one breath, one belief at a time. And as you do, the old world will begin to dissolve, quietly, silently, powerfully. Not because you destroyed it, but because you outgrew it. This truth was never lost. It was simply waiting for you to remember. And now the path is open. The question is, will you walk it?